Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Jemma, and joining me this week, I am lucky to have my two good friends. I have Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hey, sorry I wasn't here last week. Glad to be back.
Yeah, welcome back. We missed you. And joining us for the second week in a row, or third week in a row now, Trev. Welcome back, Trev.
Yeah, well, at least 2 weeks in a row, so that's
Yeah.
pretty good for me, right? Happy to be here.
Happy to have
I
you as
think Trevor and
always.
I need to acknowledge that Gemma is actually the dependable one.
Oh, thanks.
That's true. There's no show without Gemma.
Oh, well, I enjoyed doing it with you guys, so thank you. And we have a nice full show again this week to talk about some very interesting topics as usual, some news items, as well as some games that we're playing, and anniversaries, which we love to talk about, and even a Switch 2 rumor, which we haven't had for a while. So let's get into it. But I wanted to start off by saying, letting everyone know that I am officially going to PAX in Australia in October, which I'm super excited about. So I got the word from the reps during the week that I've been accepted as a media representative. So I'll be going on behalf of Pure Nintendo and reporting on all things PAX at the event. So very excited. It's my second year. Last year was my premiere at PAX. And I can't wait to see what's on display. I don't know if Nintendo's going yet. They haven't announced, but they are going. Or when is PAX West? Because they said they were going to PAX West. Is that
Oh
happened
yeah,
yet?
that's their back door.
Yeah. So they're
Yeah,
going to PAX
September.
West September. Yeah. So that's coming up soon. They were there last year in Australia. There is a Australian Nintendo Australia does exist, and I think they're even based in Melbourne, so which is where PAX Australia is hosted. So there's every reason to believe they'll be back this year. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to seeing what they have on offer. But there's heaps of indie devs at these events, as you know, and I think I saw a stat online, something like PAX, they're promoting obviously the event like crazy because they want people to go, and the ticket sales seem like they're doing pretty well. I think they've sold out of the 3-day passes, but the post was something like, so you want more indie devs? We've got more indie devs. It's like 14% more than last year or something like that. There's some incredible number of indie devs on display on the showroom floor there. So last year I saw the likes of the Godfeather and there's so many, and Dredge was there, the New Zealand based company that made that game, that sort of ship based game that was really cool. So there's heaps of cool stuff to look forward to. So yeah, I'll be reporting on that at the time as it gets closer. Um, very excited, very excited. So yeah, that's my news for the week. We can
Well,
close.
that's big news. I'll
Yeah,
be curious
yeah.
if you're able to get many appointments because I know when I went to PAX, I didn't really have a whole lot of appointments, and I regretted not having them because I was able
Mm,
to, the appointments obviously were quick and smooth, and then just
yeah.
wandering the show floor. So I'm wondering how many once you get like on a list, how many invites you'll get.
Yeah, well, last year was really well organized. I was really impressed, and I was able to kind of pick and choose, like, do you want to meet this person or that person? So I did set up quite a few, um, excuse me, ahead of time last year. So I think I had maybe 4 or 5 interviews lined up, and then I also just randomly went up to people and said hello, because some of them are only for Steam, some of the games are only for Steam. They're not for Switch. Obviously, we're pure Nintendos. We're only interested in Switch stuff, but some of them were, interested in coming to Switch. So I've got on their mailing list, and I said, let us know when you are heading to Switch, because then we can report on it, and we'd love to obviously to support you. So yeah, I made a lot of good connections, and I did say this at the time as well, but it's really obvious how passionate these people are. These developers, they're very, very passionate, and I just the enthusiasm. It kind of I don't know, it's like it's the energy is just very positive and exciting. It's a really good feeling. So I don't know if that's what you experienced when you went to PAX, Trev, but yeah, that's how it felt last year. So I'm hoping it's a similar vibe this year. I can only assume. Yeah. But yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that would be I'll report on that. It's obviously a few months away, but yeah, as it gets closer, I'll be lining up interviews and then putting some stuff onto the website and talking about it on the podcast as well. But in other news, we talked about Amiibo semi recently. I think it was with you, Trev, wasn't it? About Echoes of Wisdom Amiibo,
Mhm.
which we're kind of disappointed that there aren't any new Amiibo. But they are restocking a couple of Zelda amiibo. So I don't know if you saw this online, Trev, but the two that I saw, excuse me, I'm getting too excited and my throat can't keep up. It's the Zelda Wind Waker amiibo as well as the Link's Awakening Link amiibo. I happen to already have both of these two, so it doesn't really affect me that much. Do you have either of these two, Trev?
I don't, and I'm especially excited for the Link amiibo because I think I mentioned, or um, well, maybe not, but I missed out on that amiibo when the
Mm.
game came out. I saw it on the shelf and I thought it looked cute, and it was one of those deals where like I'm going to get it eventually, and then when I was ready for it, I couldn't find it. So
Ah,
I'm
yeah.
very excited for that, and obviously that model kind of fits the aesthetic for this new Zelda game because it has that
Yes.
same engine. A little curious about why they only did Zelda Wind
Mm.
Waker and not
Hmm.
the accompanying Toon Link.
Yeah.
Because weren't they even originally? Didn't they have like a 2 pack?
I think they might have. Yeah. I did get them individually, but yeah, I think there was a sort of double
Yeah,
pack, which would make sense.
like
Yeah, I don't know
my
why. Well,
OCD can't let me just get the the Zelda without the matching link. So I don't know, but
yeah. Maybe
that's
it's
cool.
because
And I'm
yeah.
sorry,
No, that's
I was
okay.
just thinking, even though these aren't new ones, there's still, we're about what, a little over a month away from launch.
Hmm.
It's still not inconceivable that we will get a new announcement because sometimes they do them pretty quick to the game.
Hmm.
So wishful
Yeah.
thinking maybe, but I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm hoping to. My fingers are crossed. I'd love to see a little Zelda in the same style as obviously, yeah, the Link's Awakening style or the Echoes of, which is the Echoes of Wisdom style. That'd be so cool. And you're right. Why did they not put the Toon Link from Wind Waker? But maybe they don't want to have two Links and one Zelda when it's a Zelda game. Seems a bit unbalanced.
Oh, that's a
Maybe
good
I don't know.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. I don't know.
Well,
But it
that's
does seem,
okay. I
yeah.
pre-ordered from GameStop, so I'm going to get my Zelda poster, and that'll be
Oh,
good.
nice. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Okay. That's cool. And I'm guessing you don't have either one of these, Kirk, do you? Or interested?
No, no,
No?
those I do have a few Legend of Zelda amiibos, but I don't have
Mhm.
those. I do have two quick things I want to comment on first,
Mm. Sure.
because I listened to the podcast last week when I wasn't
Mhm.
there, and I had a thought on the value of the horse when you
Oh,
guys were
yeah?
talking about that and that it being expansive and you would need a horse to be able to traverse
Right.
across the world more quickly.
Yes.
I also wondered if it has something to do with allowing you to access areas that you can't before you get the horse, where
Yeah,
they
that's
would
a good
like show
point.
it hopping over fences that maybe Zelda herself is not able to leap over. But once you get the
Mhm.
horse, now you can jump up to the next level, as we've seen in other Zelda games in the past, where you know you can get somewhere, but not yet because you're missing something.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. Mhm. You think so, Trev? You agree with that?
I hadn't thought about it, but yeah, because I mean, well, like you think back to like Ocarina of Time, right? You need Epona in the Gerudo Desert to top like that bridge that was broken.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
maybe not, but I might be misremembering. But that could be because theoretically, with the new abilities, maybe Zelda can go to a lot of places. Maybe she wouldn't normally be meant to. So maybe they had to find a way to limit it, right? Like
Mm.
we can't just have her stacking items or you know.
Yeah.
So there has to be a limit where she can't do it on her own without the
Mm.
means of horse support. So yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe if there is a surprise amiibo announcement, we'll see a horse. Zelda on a horse amiibo or something. I don't know. Or a horse with a carrot.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be the first time too that they have released the amiibo well after the game comes out. That happens often. Maybe not with the Nintendo developed games, but I'm thinking like of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, where that game came out and it took a long time for the relevant amiibos to do it. Like most of us
Oh,
had already completed the
Mm.
game before we had access to the amiibos and the items that they were able to provide.
That's true. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point.
Very good point. You got those ones, didn't you, Kirk, I think?
I did.
After the
I
fact?
did
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
off eBay.
Yeah. Yes. Well, time will tell, and if we do hear about it, we'll obviously report on it. Yeah, fingers crossed. As I said, we'll see. You never know, right? You never know your luck. So that's what I like to say. Well, moving on to what I think is very interesting piece of news, because the 3DS and Wii U, what was it? How do you describe it? The online servers shut down many months ago. Was it in January or something? I don't know. It was a long time ago. And
Was it
March?
March?
I was thinking it
March,
was
maybe it was
March.
March. Sorry, maybe they'd let us know in January that it was for March. Sorry, and we had some players online who refused to go offline to see how long they could last. And during the week, we saw a report that, and this was on Kotaku, that Mario 7 3DS player is still online, which is just, I don't know, incredible, really. Just refusing to get offline. And I don't know if that's, I don't know. What do you guys think of this? It's just, um, they haven't logged off. They've got some sort of power source so that the 3DS doesn't, shut down or whatever. Yeah, sorry, it was April 8th. Yes, we online server shut down. So it's been 4 months, over 4 months. And yeah, there was a group of people. Slowly it dwindled, and now there's Fish Guy 6564, who's still just staying online to see how long he can last. I just think it's hilarious, personally. What do you guys think?
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
First of all, you would need a power source because I know my 3DS battery is like it just doesn't last anymore. It's so old. But um,
Mm,
kudos to this guy. It's not my thing, but people game differently. And if this makes him happy to be the last guy standing, then more power to him. I will say, reading that news piece did get me to boot up Mario Kart 7 for the first time in a while,
mhm.
which was fun. And um, yeah, I don't know. People game differently, and some people do things with games that make me scratch my head, or like you said,
Yeah.
if it seems funny or makes you laugh. But
Mm,
yeah, as long as he's enjoying himself, then let's see how long he can keep it going. It's a
yeah.
it's a novelty, right? It's a little
It is a
little
novelty.
asterisk in the news.
Yeah. And like you said, he's as I said, he's got this uninterruptible power supply. He's put the 3DS in a cabinet so no one can touch it. And he said something like, where is it? He said something like, he realized that he hadn't been disconnected and all the bots in Mario Kart 7 were still racing around the track as if nothing had happened. So I just love that. I just think it's hilarious that these little AI kind of controlled drivers are still going strong because he's online, he's somehow online. So he's using it as a bit of a test just to see how long he can keep going. And I'm like, well, yeah, fair enough. Let's see how long it lasts. I mean, at some point, if Nintendo shuts down the servers, can't they just kick him off? I don't know.
You would think, but I don't know. Maybe there's just like one random intern assigned to it, like, and they're just letting him go.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know how. Sorry, Kirk.
This fella's not actually racing, then, right? I mean, is he just like in a lobby, or is there a like? I don't know what he's doing to keep it
I
alive.
don't know either. He can't be racing 24/7. So maybe, yeah, if you sit in the lobby, I don't know. It obviously doesn't time out. Um, yeah, like 3DS didn't have like a screensaver situation, did it? Like the Switch kind of times out and the screen goes black if you leave it for too long in sort of pause mode or something. Um,
Well, I hope it ends like one of those sci-fi movies where some people from the future stumble across like an ancient technology. They're like, "Oh my god, it still works. We still have power."
yeah,
And they pull it up and are able to hop into a race and save the planet. All because of this fella or lady. I
that's
don't know.
yeah, yeah, it could be fish guy. They say he, so I guess yeah,
Okay.
I guess it's a
Yeah,
male,
we'll
but
go. He
yeah,
says guy, we'll go with guy.
yeah, okay, fish
It
guy.
And we'll
is
also
crazy
assume
though.
fish is
Think
correct.
Mm,
think of the 3DS online still going when like I have a hard time sometimes with the Switch just keeping stable online connection. Like, what's the 3DS
mm.
doing differently?
Well, it only has one guy accessing it.
That's
Yeah.
the secret, right? You just gotta.
That's hard to take down the server when only one person's on.
Yeah. He's just got
Uh,
some speed, some incredible speed.
I
Top
don't know though. Were either of you in the group when we were testing Triforce Heroes?
Yeah, I
Mm,
was.
And the
Yeah, me.
3DS was dead by that point, but even then, I feel like it was a little, touch and go. So
Yeah, I remember.
yeah, I don't know.
yeah, interesting. Well, yeah, we'll see how long he lasts. I mean, I just figure at some point Nintendo's gonna pull a plug, and he just won't be able to be online, right? Like, isn't that how servers work? It's a thing. It's a physical thing. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how long he goes. If I'm sure if he makes it to 6 months, or he's probably got a milestone in mind that he'll have a accomplishment of reaching. I'm sorry, my dog's barking in the background. If you can hear that, she's got an opinion on this as well. So I
Hey,
can't tell
Gemma,
her. Yeah.
do you remember that episode of The Simpsons where Homer was protesting the Springfield Atoms moving to Albuquerque?
Yes.
And I feel like this guy is protesting them shutting down the 3DS servers, and Nintendo is just putting their own twist on it. They're like, we're going to let him play until Switch 2 launches. Or,
Yeah. Yes.
uh,
Yeah. You know me. Occasionally, I'll be quirky. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I love how you can always
I
find.
love how you put the little clips in on YouTube. I always, whenever we mention Simpsons, I always see a little GIF or a little screenshot,
Oh, it
and
has
I
to be
love
done,
it.
doesn't it? Has to be done, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
encourage listeners, if you can, listen on YouTube to appreciate Gemma's efforts.
Thank you, Trev. Thank you. Well, let's move on to the next piece of news. And this is about Broken Sword, which is coming to Switch next month. Who wants to talk about this particular piece of news?
Well, I put
Shadow
it in, so I'll
Shadow of the
kick it off.
Templars. Yeah, sure. So it's
Uh,
a
br-
remake, is that right?
well, it's funny. First of all, Broken Sword is probably my favorite game, at least non Nintendo game, like of all time.
Cool.
It's a graphic adventure, a point and click, and actually, eagle-eyed listeners, if you also subscribe to the magazine, I did a retro review on the Game Boy Advance port of this game many years ago. That's how much I love the
Cool.
game.
Cool.
I even played it on Game Boy. But what's interesting is if you're a Nintendo player, you might know Broken Sword from the Wii and DS era. They had the director's cut. And unfortunately, it was a case where for everything they added, they actually took away things. So it was a director's cut that cut out more than it added. It was bizarre. I've never seen anything like it. And while new players or casual players probably didn't care, it was sort of a slap in the face to those who love the original game. So this particular version is the original game that's going to be in 4K and remastered soundtrack. It doesn't have any of the director's cut content, which for me is like a sigh of relief because it's like, thank you for leaving the game with all its original content, because they really did edit far too much in the director's cut. They really dumbed it down. There was less hut spots, less items. You couldn't die. So it was a very unfulfilling playthrough. But this game restores the original from the mid late 90s. And it also has a feature which I love in retro re-releases where you can switch between the original pixel art and the new, redone visuals with the click of a button right on the fly. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
always
awesome. I think it's going to appeal to purists like myself and maybe new players. And it's just a brilliantly written game. Long before, I feel like the Knights Templar is kind of like a cliched thing now, but they were doing it first, long before I ever heard of them, long before Da Vinci Code or anything like that. So it's just got great writing, amazing voice work, beautiful music and scenery, and it's just I love it. It's like a Nintendo game, except Nintendo didn't make it, but that's the quality and care it's got.
That's great. I love that wrap up. And the trailer looks superb. Like it looks lovely. They've reanimated it for this version, haven't they?
Yeah, and it was gorgeous anyway. It really, I mean, the animation was just top notch. I mean, I can only imagine what it's going to look like upscaled. But it's one
Yeah.
of those cases where that's all they needed to do because it already looked beautiful.
Yeah. That's a great, I mean, you've got me excited about it, and I didn't even know about it before today. So, Kirk, are you familiar with this at all?
I am. I
Yes.
believe that I played the version that Trevor was just lambasting uh, on the Wii back when I was writing for another site, and I reviewed it. And being I didn't know the history of it. I think that's the only game I played from the
Hmm.
series. And but I remember liking it, and as a fan of adventure games, who was playing a lot of this style game back when PC computing was just catching on. I was able to hop right into it and enjoy it. Thought it was very good.
Mm. Yeah, it certainly looks good, and you've certainly sold me. So hopefully, listeners who weren't aware also appreciate that and look forward to it. So it comes out. Was it 19th of September? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be.
Hmm.
I was looking actually. I missed out. I guess they had a Kickstarter for a physical version with like all sorts of goodies. And I
Hmm.
don't really do Kickstarter anymore, so I missed out on that. I'm hoping maybe it gets a physical release, just even a standard box, because I would love it. But I'm gonna get it day one anyway if I
Yeah,
don't end
yeah,
up reviewing it.
yeah. And it's from 1996 originally. So it's a classic title. So was it not the 96 version? Was that what system was that on? Not on a Nintendo system?
It started on PC. I first
Hmm.
played this on PS1
Hmm.
or the original PlayStation, which it came out a couple years later. I think it was '98, and it's just one of those games that really left an impression on my young mind. I would have been probably my late teens, I guess.
Hmm.
And I always liked point and click games, but growing up with them, a lot of them were just brutal. Like the Sierra games would really, it's like how many ways can we kill you? And you know that was fun and all, but this one was more kind of in a LucasArts style where death wasn't around every step. Like you could still die, but you wouldn't get like in dead ends per se,
Hmm. Hmm.
which I think was good because it's a very story driven, character driven game. It's not just puzzles and whatnot. So
Yeah, I think a
um,
lot of those Sierra games were built specifically to make you call the 900 numbers to get hints.
yes,
And before there was an internet, we had we had rotary phones.
Yeah, those are the days.
Call up and listen. They always saved like the big hint for like 5 minutes in, so you had to pay $10 before you got to the info you needed.
Oh
you take
wow.
the phone from the kitchen and drag the cord into the closet in the other room. Shut the door.
Oh, I love that. Well, you won't need to do that with Broken Sword, I guess, on the Switch.
Nope.
Does anyone even have phones anymore? I miss that. We don't even have a landline. It's like, oh,
If you need
I
any hints on the game, you can ask me. I've been it many times.
that's right.
yeah, yeah, Trev,
900 Trevor.
yeah,
It's only
yes. Oh
99
my god,
cents the first minute, but it's $5 every minute after.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Gemma,
the first minute's going to be filled with Simpsons references, so you're paying at least $5 to $10 to get out.
Kirk,
Quality.
you have precognitive abilities. I was just going to tell Gemma, what was that Simpsons episode where Homer was calling to get tips on sports betting, and it was like the coach. He's like, in the
Oh
game
yeah,
of
yeah.
Miami versus Dallas, we have to consider many.
That's right. Oh, that's an early one, I think. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think of
See,
when Elisa was.
I'm making you work now. You're gonna have to dig up
I
all
know,
these random
I
clips.
know. Well, there was one where Lisa was addicted to the Corey line or something. She kept ringing the Corey line. You
Oh
remember?
man,
Yeah, to hear Corey talk or something.
here's some words that rhyme with Corey. Story, allegory.
We could go on and on. Um, thank you. No, that sounds really exciting. So, Broken Sword coming to the Switch next month, September 19th. I assume we'll talk about it at the time if we're reviewing it or just playing it. I'm sure Trev will be all over that. So, yeah, you can give us our thoughts on this version, and hopefully it lives up to your expectations. If listeners are familiar with the series and as fond of it as Trev is, and Kirk, I suppose, let us know. We'd love to know if you're excited about this one too. The
Yeah,
next,
I'd
yeah,
love to chat about this game with people.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. The next piece of news is Lego Horizon Adventures, which is coming to Switch holiday 2024. So we've got a little disclaimer here, but it's the first time a Sony published game has been released for a Nintendo system. The disclaimer, thank you, Trev, is not counting Sony ImageSoft, who did publish games on the NES and Super Nintendo in the early 90s, of course, before Sony had their own system. That was. Yeah, so that's kind of, I guess, a big deal then, because we're talking, NES and Super Nintendo era, that's like 80s, early 90s. The PS1, when did that come out? Mid 90s or something. So it's been
Yeah,
a good,
95 in North America.
right. So we're talking 30 odd years. Um, and I wonder what kind of deal they struck to to make this happen. I guess Lego, the Lego games has so many and varied versions of Lego adventures, and maybe just to reach a new audience. Maybe if people love it enough, they think, well, I like Lego Horizons. Maybe I want to try, or is it Horizon, not Horizon? Sorry, I like Lego Horizon Adventures. Maybe I want to try the original Horizon games and maybe get a PlayStation to do that. Maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. Is it a marketing tactic? Maybe, I don't know. Um, so yeah, what else do we know about this one? It comes out holiday 2024. We don't have a release date just yet. There was a trailer released a few months ago, which we kind of talked about on the show at the time, which looks pretty good. Looks pretty fun and funny. If you either of you are familiar with are either of you familiar with Horizon, the game series at all? The PlayStation series?
I'm not. And I was wondering if I had two thoughts going back real quickly to why the game's coming
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to Switch. I wondered first if Lego just has some kind of publishing setup where they will not make a game unless it's available for all platforms. Um,
Mm-hmm. Very well could
but
be.
I
Mm.
know that Lego City Undercover, at least when it first came out, I believe that was only Nintendo. I could
Yes.
be wrong,
No,
but
it
I
was a
think that's
Wii
the
U
case.
exclusive. Yeah, I
Okay,
remember
yeah,
that.
and
Mm.
then was released. So I thought not, but also in the press release I got on this, it says that releasing this for the Switch is part of Sony's new cross-platform strategy.
Oh, okay.
Now
That's
I
interesting.
don't know what other games are part of that strategy, but Lego Horizon Adventures is one of them.
Wow, that's kind of big because Microsoft has obviously done that recently as well with their
Mhm.
cross-platform kind of strategy that they released a few games. Sorry, Trev, did you have something to say? I
Well,
felt
it
like you were.
wouldn't surprise me. Just looking at, Lego games, do they tend to sell better on Nintendo hardware? Like, I don't have any figures or
Mm.
anything in front of me, but it does seem like that type of demographic
Hmm.
probably works best. So it might just be, looking at the overall bottom line.
Yeah, yeah. Very
I
well could
just
be.
hope holiday 2024, depending on when it comes out, I could easily see it get buried among bigger
Yeah.
releases.
Hmm.
So
So holiday, that means like December, I guess. Is that right? November, December kind of thing?
Yeah, usually somewhere around Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Hmm. I wonder if, yeah, that's a really good point, Trev, because Lego, I would assume the same. It probably does quite well on the Switch. We have so many versions of Lego games. I know they're generally cross-platform anyway, but I do wonder, that's a really interesting question, which version performs better, or if any. And I wonder, is Horizon, the game series, popular enough outside of, I don't know, whatever fan base it has on the PlayStation, for Lego fans to pick it up on the Switch? Like as a player, not a not like a journalist or a game reviewer, would I pick it up? I don't know. Like I said, the trailer did look fun and funny and interesting, so maybe. But I don't pick up every Lego game anyway. I used to, but now there's just too many. So
yeah.
you kind
And
of have
I
to draw the
hate to
line.
say it too, but the Lego
Mm,
games do get deep discounts.
they
So
do. They
if it
do.
does get buried in the holiday season, people at that point, if they don't pick it up holiday season, they're just going to wait. till it goes on
Mm,
sale, especially if the game is buggy. And as much as I enjoy these Lego games, they do tend to be pretty glitchy, at least
mm,
on Switch, right? So, or
mm,
even Nintendo hardware like Wii U, 3DS, all those games kind of had various bugs. So,
mm. Yeah. And I mean, I loved things like, because I'm a Harry Potter fan, so I loved Lego Harry Potter, Indiana Jones, and Star Wars as well. But then some of the like Marvel ones have been a bit meh, so I'm kind of not as interested in those. The Batman ones had their place, I think, but there's just like I said, there's so many. And if you like a franchise, you probably you're more likely to get a Lego version of it. You probably need to like Lego as well. Yeah, I don't know. I guess time will tell. I hope it's good. It could be really good, so we'll see. And like I said, maybe it'll help people, expand their, I don't know, knowledge of this series Horizon. So yeah, we'll see. So hopefully we'll be reviewing that one when it comes out, which will be exciting, and we can have a proper say and a critical lens over it. Anything else to add to that story about Lego Horizon Adventures before we move on to the games we're playing from anybody? No, all good. Okay. Well, let's move on to the games we're playing then. So I'll go first. And I am playing a game called Star Wars Bounty Hunter, which I've just started, and I think it's actually been out a little while. Am I right?
A
It's saying a couple
couple
weeks.
weeks, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Because I remember this one being in the eShop list at the time. So it's 1999. It's basically, I guess you'd say, yeah, August the 1st it came out. So a few weeks ago. It's
Oh, I thought you were saying the game is set in 1999.
oh no,
What a
it's,
weird jump Star Wars made.
yeah, I know, right? This one is set, before episode 2 of the movies, which I think is really cool. I was not really aware of this game before it's been brought to the Switch. So it is a 2002 title, it's not a new title, it's been around over 20 years. It was on the GameCube, though, back in the day, and I think also the PlayStation 2. So this is a remastered version, I wanna say. It has got some enhanced graphics, but it still, looks pretty dated, and it's not bad, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not been completely revamped. It's not like a complete remake, it's just a remaster. So just to give you that context. But it is the story of Jango Fett, actually, which if you, Kirk, I don't know how familiar you are with the prequels because I know you gave up after Return of the Jedi, but Jango Fett was the clone. Well, he became the clone template, I suppose, for the clone army. And so this is set before episode 2 when we discovered in that movie that he was.
spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen Attack of the Clone,
I did know that much. I
okay.
did see those three movies in the theater.
Oh, there you go. I thought you
Yeah.
stopped at Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I was talking. Yeah, I meant because those were prequels, right? I saw the
Yes.
prequels, the new ones.
Okay.
Storyline wise, I got no further than Return of the
Oh,
Jedi.
okay. I thought you meant in the
Uh,
80s you saw the Return of the Jedi and that was it. You're like,
Yeah,
I'm done with Star Wars from here on. I'm
yeah,
not watching anything
yeah. I
else.
think I can't remember which one of those movies I was watching, and at one point I was so fed up with it, I threw my hands up in the air and was about to leave the theater, but didn't.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know which one. This so this game actually would have come out before Revenge of the Sith movie, so before Episode 3. And it's yeah, like I said, the story of Jango Fett, and I like that it's got voice acting. And I don't know if that was the case for the original. I think it might have been actually. Yeah, I think it was. But the actor who plays Jango Fett in the movies reprised his role as the voice of Jango Fett in the game, which is pretty cool. Count Dooku is in it as well, but it's not the same actor as the movies. I think who was the actor? It's someone really famous, right? Like,
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, Christopher Lee. So maybe he had limits. I'm not doing games. I don't know, or maybe he cost too much. But he doesn't do the voice of Count Dooku. I don't know how much he's in it yet because I haven't played this before. I have started it, and it's divided into 6 levels. I believe they're called, and then each level has 3 kind of sub levels or something like that. And it's about, yeah, Jango Fett, how he became the overall story is how he became this kind of template for the clone army. But along the way, he's got missions to do. He's got a specific mission that he's doing for um, the Emperor, who's not the Emperor at this point, but that character, Emperor Palpatine. and he's also able to collect bounties on people as he goes, which is pretty cool. So you kind of scan enemies, and if they're wanted, then you can capture them. You can use this weapon, which is like a whip or a taser kind of thing, I suppose, and it wraps around them and subdues them, and then you can collect a bounty on them. So that's kind of cool. It's a neat little aspect. Yeah, so I'm enjoying my time with it so far. It's the cutscenes look pretty nice, and at first I thought, because the intro, you know, what I love, and I might be the only one here because I am a Star Wars fan, but I miss the intros to the Star Wars, like the Star Wars shows, like the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and all those. They don't have the scrolling, and they don't need to because they're not the movies, but they don't have the scrolling text like the original movies did and the prequels did. This game starts out with that. I'm like, oh, I kind of like that because it reminds me of, when I was a kid, I watched the original Star Wars, on VHS at home, and I love the scrolling thing, like the scrolling text and the music. It's, I don't know, part and parcel of Star Wars for me. So to see the game start with that and have this little introduction about what's going on in the galaxy at this point in time, I really enjoy. Um, yeah, so we'll see where it goes. I'm reviewing this one, so I'll have my thoughts, up on the website at some point in the near future. But so far, so good. We'll see. It's got some really cool, Trev, you like these kinds of things, little things you can unlock, such as like there's a comic book that this is based on, I believe, or part of the story. And as you progress, you can unlock pages, and then you can read the actual comic book that was put out at the time. And there's other kind of unlockables like that, like art galleries and stuff like that, which I think is a nice little addition. I don't know if that was in the original version or not. I'll have a look and see if that was the case. But yeah, it's.
Believe it or not, I actually played this on GameCube
Oh,
back in
did
the day.
you? I should have
I,
asked you that question.
I
What did you
don't
think?
remember what kind of extras it had, but or even that much about it. So I'll be looking forward to your review. But I did tend to like a lot of those prequel era games, like Episode One Racer,
Mm-hmm.
Battle for Naboo on the N64,
Yeah.
Jedi Power Battles, all those different ones. So yeah, I'll
Mm.
be interested to see what they did to update this.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear you've got some experience with it. What else can I say? Yeah, pretty early on, so it's it's a third person kind of shooter, I suppose. I should have mentioned the type of game it is. Yeah, so you're kind of following Jango Fett. You can aim your blasters. You have a jetpack. You can fly around, and it's pretty fun. I guess the AI is not very intuitive or clever. They just kind of run at you. So, but it's a 22-year-old game, so I'm kind of going to look at it through that lens, as well as see how it fits into today's kind of world. But yeah, so far so good. I'll continue playing it, and definitely let you know what I think. But I'm very interested to hear about your thoughts so far on what you're playing, Trev, because you're playing something exciting, which is SteamWorld Heist 2, which just came out. Was it last week? I think it's very recent.
Yeah, I'm grateful we did. I did reach out. We did get a code, thankfully. It was not. It wasn't a pre-release code, so our review is going to be late, but better late than never. And I'm having a lot of fun with this one. I will just say, if you haven't played the first game, you don't need to play it to enjoy this one. Obviously, a lot of the structure is similar, and there's certain nods you'll appreciate more if you played the original game, but you don't need to. But if you are curious, there is a bundle that'll save you some money that has Heist 1 and 2 together.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, this is the sequel, and it's got probably the newest element, which I was intrigued about, is it has you're on the water doing like naval combat in between missions.
Mm.
And when I was first playing this, I'm like, okay, I wasn't entirely sure what to think because it just seemed like kind of a slower way to get to the next mission. Because the first game, it was just you basically just move an icon. It was like a world map, kind of like like Mario 3 or whatever. But being on the water is cool because you can open up the map. You kind of like push back the clouds and you open up the map, and there's a lot more freedom in terms of which missions you take. And there's sort of a risk reward element. Like I'm going out in the waters, and they're warning me, like, oh, there's Navy boats on patrol, and I'm going out and I'm getting missiles shot at me, and there's huge boats firing at me, and it's like, okay, I don't want to blow up before I can get to the safety of a bar or whatever. So, but I like that, I like that freedom to play it as I
Mm.
like. And but beyond that, it's just more of the game I loved. It's got that kind of similar flow where you go in and accomplish these missions. But even within that structure, there's good variety because sometimes it'll just be like a single Steambot going in, and then other times you'll have a party, like 3, 4 members. Sometimes you'll be going in and you can exit the level anytime you want, but of course there's a ton of treasure in here, so it's that risk
Yeah.
reward element. Do you try to grab one more piece of treasure before you exit? I will just highlight probably my favorite level. I'm about 5.5 hours in. Is they had this prison level, and what you can do is you can actually release the prisoners, and of course, then the guards that are targeting you are forced to target the escaped prisoners as well. So
Ah,
that can help you, but of course, depending on where you are in the map, the prisoners may just as soon attack you as they will the guards. So you could quickly be overwhelmed depending on your position and have twice as many enemies, or they could
wow.
serve as allies. So there's a lot of strategic thinking, that
Mm.
sort of thing, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. There's plenty more I could say on it, and plenty more I will say when I get a review up. But I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
That's great. That sounds really impressive. Yeah, you're impressed. So it does sound impressive. Um, how do you feel about the water element compared to the space element that the first game kind of had?
Yeah, it's growing on me. Um, it is a little. If you're someone that's just anxious to go right to the next main mission, I could see maybe it would frustrate you because it is a little bit slower. But there's goodies you find on the water too. You find spoils, and
Mm.
you found like they have like what they call, I think it's bounties, little missions. You can find different things, and obviously you can find other bars which are safe havens. You can find other shops where you can get weapons and hats, and no, I like it. And of course, as you power up your ship, you get a torpedo, and suddenly those boats that are you're engaged in combat with, they go down in one shot. So I like it, and it's a big map. Like my wife was watching me play, and she's like, "Wow, that's huge." And like I said, I'm only 5 hours and change in, so I can only imagine how much bigger it's going to get because I can see, just studying it, like where the clouds are covering question marks. Like it'll show you a question mark buried in the clouds, and you're like, "What's out there?" And you
Mm.
won't know until you actually physically drive out there.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, that sounds really good. I wonder how long the full game will take. I guess it's quite a lengthy experience, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, I would imagine. And of course, you want to replay levels. Like I beat a
Mm.
level right before I hopped on, and it showed like I had 83% of the swag or the
Ah,
treasure,
uh-huh.
and I had to
Yeah.
exit because I was almost dead. But I'm like, man, I really want 100%. So I'm going to replay it, and
Mm.
maybe with different characters to level them up, and maybe it'll make it a little easier. But
Yeah. Do you have a lot of characters to choose from?
you do, and in fact, I can even recruit more, but you have to. I think like for sub upgrades, you can buy like bunks so you can house the characters because each character has their own room. So you have to be
Mhm.
able to, and I think it's structured within like the story element. Like you won't get one till you at a certain point in the story. But there's different characters. There's a job system that is probably too involved to talk about on the show. But the characters have a different means to level up and earn abilities, and they have their story elements too in between missions. A lot of times there's word bubbles, and you can talk to the characters and get
Mm.
a little more of their backstory and the lore in general. So it's
Cool.
nice. Right now I have, I don't know, maybe half a dozen recruits,
Mhm.
but I know for a fact that there's more. So
Yeah. My, I guess, final question is, I don't know if there's a timeline in these games because we've had a lot of SteamWorld games over the years. Does this have it? Do you know if it fits into a timeline of sorts, in terms of like, is it before the last one? Is it after the last one? Do they mention anything like that or not really? It's not like that.
they haven't mentioned in game that I've seen. It is funny you say that though, because I was actually looking up a SteamWorld timeline.
Ah,
But
yeah.
but it must have been an out of date link because it didn't reference this game.
Okay. Hmm.
So I don't actually know, but
Mm. That's
it
cool.
is making me want to. After I beat it, it is making me want to go back and revisit like the dig games, the first heist game, the card
Mm.
game, different ones.
Hmm. Yeah. Excellent. Well, that's good. I'm glad it's living up to those expectations that we had because we were kind of hoping and expecting it to be good based on the fact that the series in general has been very positive. And SteamWorld
Mhm.
Heist, the first one, was a terrific game that we all enjoyed. So, yeah, very happy to hear that. Kirk, would you like a turn at talking now? Would you like to tell us about what you're playing this week?
Yeah, I can go, I guess. I just hope it's interesting enough. And
Let's
it
give
will
it a
be.
go.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely going to be because I'm talking about a game called Natsu-Mon, 20th Century Summer Kid.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and this is a game that's being published by Spike Chunsoft. I shouldn't say being, it has been. It's out now, and our review will be up very soon. And it's just a complete joy. This game, I absolutely love playing it. It's centered around. It's kind of like an. I, I haven't really dug too deeply into Animal Crossing, but it's kind of like that, I suppose. If you were like a young Japanese boy in the '80s, just exploring your town. I mean,
Cool.
that's really kind of it. It's like at the beginning of all these JRPGs and other adventure games where you're just a young kid in a town and you find something and it leads to a bigger adventure and you eventually have to go fight God. Imagine if you don't find that thing and so you just hang around in town for a month and then the game's done.
That sounds fun.
It is. It's kind of wonderful. It's the story is that you and your parents run a traveling circus. You're not part of the circus. You don't perform, but you travel with them, and they come into this town. And there's some kind of issue, I believe, with permits where they're not allowed to perform, so they have to go take care of that issue. And you stay in the care of the innkeeper, where you're going to be staying, and you basically have the whole month of August. It literally takes place during the month of August, which maybe I guess is a vacation time in Japan from school.
Yeah, I guess it's their summer as well right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
And like you have homework to do, and that you have a journal or a diary, and you're supposed to fill it in and document what you've been doing. So the game starts off in the morning, and you just explore. Most days it doesn't give you anything specific to do, other than that you can look at a map and see some people. So let's go talk to this person, and then you find out something maybe that's going on. Sometimes it starts out on the day where they're like, "Oh, this girl's going to take you up to the top of this mountain to show you something." So you can do that. Along the way you learn to fish. You're going to catch a lot of insects, of course, and you fill up the journal and it gives you a reward after 10, and then after 30 insects all the way up to I think it's 200 you can collect. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Wow.
um, but it all takes place over the course of a day, so you can go explore really far out. At dinner time the game automatically brings you back to the inn for dinner, and then you have some more time to explore in the evening. If you stay out too late, then you end up oversleeping the following morning and you miss breakfast, you miss your exercises. And remind me to talk about the exercises in a minute.
Okay.
um, but if you do get back by I think it's 10 o'clock, then you're able to wake up early the next day and get a jump on your day. Eventually, you can buy a clock. Without the clock, you have no way of knowing what time it is. So at the beginning of the game, you're kind of staying out too late because you're just not, you don't know.
Right.
And apparently, it gets dark earlier in Japan. I think like the stars start coming around like 5, 6 o'clock in this game, and that's not what I'm used to here
Oh.
in beautiful downtown Ohio.
Yeah.
Just wait till daylight savings time.
Yeah, saving time.
Mm.
We just went over that.
It's
Yeah, boy.
it's
But
yeah, sorry.
it also like at the beginning, it does give you some bigger goals to reach. Like one of the first things you do is you have to climb these 5 buildings, and you have a stamina bar, kind of like in Legend of Zelda, where you could run for a while, but then if you don't stop at one point, then you get tired. You can't die or anything in this game. You can, if you're climbing up the top of a light tower and you can't make it all the way and you fall back down 50, 60 feet, you're fine. But so like a lot of the things that it tells you to do, you can't do yet. You need to figure out how to do it or get more stamina or something else to be able to make that happen. But the whole thing is just about exploration, and just finding something to do. It really is just like lazy summer days, and how are you going to fill them? It's really joyful. And reminds me of my childhood back in the 70s and 80s when you could just run off and try to find something to climb all day and do it. As long as you're home for dinner, yeah, what you want to do is up to you. I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people have that freedom these days. So it was very, it made me kind of wistful, I'll say, for.
Right. Oh, yeah. I get that. And it looks lovely too. Like the animation looks,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, really nice, really colorful, bright, childlike, I suppose, which fits
Yes,
in with your
childlike
theme.
is a perfect way to describe it. Yep.
Mm, yeah. It even says in the description on the eShop page that there's a train you can catch to go and visit a neighboring
Yes.
town. Have you done that?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
You have to eventually find ways to make money so that you can buy your ticket.
Ah.
But also, like I said, you have to buy a clock, and then you buy you see in some screen captures there he's got this like little water gun type thing, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
need that to be able to solve a couple quests, and you meet friends, and they have like an adventure club, and they give you quests to finish. So there's always something to do. You
Mm,
can't just run around this game and not stumble upon something interesting.
yeah.
And the interesting thing about it is you can control the length of the day, and that really
Ah.
affects how the game is played. Because if you think I want the longest day possible, to make sure that you don't miss anything or leave things incompleted, that's fine. Except that sometimes you need to get to another day in order to progress something along. So you may end up
Mm.
wandering too much, but you can keep changing that throughout the game if you don't like the speed at which it's playing.
Hmm. Now you mentioned exercise. Did you want
Yes.
to talk about that?
Yeah, it was one of my. There are a lot of really interesting things about the game. One of which, before I get to the exercises, is the dialogue that the people have. Every person in this game is just very funny, and the way they talk and their enthusiasm for things and their joy for life and food and almost everything that's going on is really infectious. And that carries over to the first time I went to do my morning exercises, because the game invites you as the player, stand up and
Ah,
do these too.
yeah.
So I did. I'm standing up and doing these stretching
Oh,
exercises in the morning, and it hurt. And I've realized I either got to play this game more or find my own exercises to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like so much fun. You can't watch people doing these stretches and say, "I'm just going to sit here and watch this," or skip it. Like you're just
Mm.
completely compelled to get up and be part of this little adventure that this kid's having.
Oh, that. It's really cool. And it does also mention DLC. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, there are, I believe, two DLC packs. I haven't downloaded either one of them yet. I want to explore what's available to me first.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you can extend it. I believe they open up other islands that you can go to explore entirely new areas.
Mhm.
The game does have a couple problems. I want to point out there are times where it seems like you're just meandering. They could be a little more helpful in guiding you from one task to the next.
Mhm.
And there are like a lot of the elements require like a platforming kind of jumps. Like there's one early on that was driving me nuts where you basically have to light lanterns on the path on the way up to a shrine. And you can't climb them, but you can climb things near them and jump off to get to the top, because to light the lantern, you have to push a button on the top of it. And that was way more difficult than it needed to be, just because the
Mm.
controls weren't configured as well as I think they could have been.
Yeah. Right. Very interesting. But overall, it sounds like you're having a very positive experience.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, it
nice.
it is fun. It's got like some really good, like almost supernatural elements to it. There's kind of like a ghost girl that you find at the beginning of it. So
Yeah.
it being Japanese, there's a little bit more of a spiritual connection to everything, and
Mm.
I found that almost as endearing as the story itself.
Oh, lovely. Well, we
is
definitely
that
look
the
forward to.
melodrama?
Yeah, that's where we get to.
It's got to have melodrama.
This
Yeah.
one, man, I think you guys may have caught me. This may be the first game I've been this excited about that didn't at some point have someone agonizing over something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe because I didn't catch all the fish I can catch. There's still some fish I need to get. Well, I'm
Yeah.
agonizing over that.
Yeah. And those bugs, 200 bugs. Oh my gosh, it's a lot of
Or
bugs.
the awnings when I'm trying to climb to the top of a roof and I can't get past it. And that
Yeah.
that plays with my heartstrings.
Mm. And clearly the lanterns is the sole point. So, yeah, that can be
I
a
eventually got that one down, though. I figured that out.
yes. Oh, well, thank you. That's an excellent wrap up of Natsu-Mon. Is that so? That's out now, is it? It is, right?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Very good. Yeah, it looks like there's a bundle you can buy if you wanted to get the DLC with the game, I suppose. Is that right? Looks like there's
Yeah.
two packages. Yeah, cool.
A
Yeah, if this
demo
is
too.
and a demo. Oh, well, there you go. Gosh,
I'm
that's
gonna
worth
have to
Oh,
check
yeah.
it
trying.
out.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
Do. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
one of those games where like you'll play it for a while, and then if you move on to other things, you just keep coming back to it because it becomes comfortable to play.
Mm.
It's always just like a light thing, but you're also not just wasting your time. There's an awful lot to do. It's just very low pressure.
Yeah.
Except for
We
some of the exercises.
yeah.
Do
We all
them
need
enough.
some.
Do them enough, and we'll all be okay.
Yeah, we all need some low pressure in our lives, I think. So that's nice. Yeah. I wanted to ask you. I think Trev is this Trev anniversary fax Anadu NES.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
put that in last minute. There's probably not a big anniversary because Faxana do sort of a cult classic on the
Hmm.
original Nintendo. I guess technically it's Fazanadu, but no kid in
Yeah.
North America ever said it that way.
Yeah.
So I think
Right.
even on the cartoon there, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, they pronounced it Faxanadu too. So that's how I grew up with it.
Okay.
When I first read this, I thought it was faux Xanadu. Like it's not
Oh.
the movie Xanadu, but it
Oh,
kind of is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that could be it too. I'm not sure how they pronounce it in Japan, but
It's not about fax machines though, is it?
no. That would have been very up to the moment though in '89. I think fax machines were
Yeah.
pretty big. So
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
uh,
Do we need to explain that to the younger listeners? No. Just
watch Back to the Future too, and you can see futuristic fax machines.
yeah.
But anyway, why I put this is because I've been playing the NES World Championship,
Mhm.
and they have a lot of Zelda 2 challenges, and that's never been, as far as Zelda games go, Zelda 2's never been like one of my favorites, especially compared to the original.
Mhm.
But as I was playing them, I said, you know what? I said, this is like a weaker version of Faxanadu. Faxanadu is the better version of Zelda 2. And it's not a Nintendo developed game. Nintendo did publish it because they recognized the high quality, but it was actually developed by Hudson Soft. And it's got
Yeah.
a lot of the similarities to Zelda 2, but I like it better. Really, in almost every aspect. Presentation, I think it was ahead of its time for '89 visually. The character portraits, the animation, the colors, some of the effects. Musically, it was brilliant. And, the flow is interesting. You're kind of working your way up the world tree, which I think has been used in a lot of video games. But you kind of work your way up from the roots of the tree, your town. And as you get higher, you fight more enemies and you see more towns. And it's kind of got an RPG vibe, even though it's an action adventure. And it's unfortunate that it never really did get re-released. I think it got a virtual console release on the original Wii, but it's not a terribly expensive game. So if you do have an NES, it's definitely worth picking up, I think. Or if you have it on your shelf, it's worth replaying because I think it's a good game. It's one of the NES gems that doesn't get talked about enough, in my
Yeah.
opinion. And for 35 years, we should be talking about it a little bit more.
Yeah. That's excellent. Thank you for letting us know about that. Have you played it? Do you own this game by any chance?
I do. And I got a manual too. It's nice. It's one of those full color manuals. It's got a lot of art. It's kind of Zelda-esque in that way. It goes into the story. And of course, that's what really captured the imagination as a kid because you get the game and, the first thing you do is you open up and read the manual on the car ride home from the store,
Yeah.
from the rental shop if you were fortunate enough. So, yeah, it's a good game. I haven't played it recently, but after
Mhm.
reading about it, I'm gonna think I'm gonna give it a boot up because
Yeah.
it's high quality, especially for 8-bit.
Did someone say retro review? Could it be a retro review?
Oh, maybe. Hey, well, I did
Maybe.
just actually it will be on the site when we go. I did put up a Pinball Quest review. I talked about that last week. So, and
Yes.
that's an old NES game. So
Yeah. Well,
maybe
you weren't sure if you were going to review that one, but you
I wasn't, but
yeah.
the more I played it, I'm like, you know what? I should talk about this because it's not like Pinball Quest is a game that's blowing up Metacritic. I mean, not many people are covering it. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's excellent. Well, thank you. I'd love to know if listeners are familiar with this game, seeing as it is a bit of a cult classic, but a bit of a maybe underappreciated kind of gem in the NES library. I certainly haven't played it. Kirk, are you at all familiar with it? You heard of it?
No, no, I hadn't heard of it. Maybe that's good. I think it's one of those games I would not be able to play without singing the
yeah,
song that the title reminds me of.
Yeah.
So I would drive my family crazy with some Olivia Newton-John
I think
ELO.
for our listeners, you should sing just a
Mm.
little bit.
Xanadu. How was that?
That was awesome.
That was
Excellent.
awesome. Look at that. You have a strong voice. You're like a baritone or something? What's your level?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
get the only way I can sing is if I can sing deeply.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for that. And just a
You're
question
saying
about
I didn't sound like Olivia Newton-John? I didn't nail her voice?
it
I thought it
was
was a good impersonation.
very close.
Thanks.
We can probably use AI to adjust it or something and I don't know.
Hey, next time you're exercising in that game you were talking about, Kirk, you can sing "Let's Get Physical,
Yeah.
Physical."
Yes. Very good. Please do that, Kirk, and let us know.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
YouTube
they'll,
short.
they'll never let me into Australia if I sing too much Olivia Newton-John. They'll think I'm
Oh,
disgracing her.
no, I think they'll find it
It's an
endearing.
homage.
Oh, yes, exactly, exactly. Well, our final piece for the week, we just wanted to talk about. We haven't done a Switch 2 rumor for a while, but because it hasn't been a lot recently, I've heard a few things about specs, which hasn't really changed. Now we're talking about Windows, time release windows, I suppose, because we've been told by Nintendo that they will announce something this fiscal year, which means before the end of March 2025. But this report says that developers have been told not to expect the Switch 2 to launch before April 2025, which I guess makes sense if it's potentially announced all the way up to March. That's just the announcement. The release probably won't come before then. I don't know. Who knows, right? This is speculation. So who found this article, by the way? Was that Trev or Kirk?
I did.
Yes.
I found it on. I guess I first saw Switch 2 was trending again, so I'm checking
Mm,
on Twitter
mhm,
and found this article.
mhm.
And yeah, from what I read, the developers were hoping, they're still hoping that there will be an April, May 2025 release, but
Mhm.
the general consensus amongst them is that there's no way it comes out before then, and a possibility that it could even push back into late 2025.
Right. Was there a reason that they thought, or why were they hoping? Do we know why they wanted that?
I think they're just ready to go, or
Wishful
Mm.
thinking.
yeah, wishful
Yeah, okay.
thinking.
Yeah, okay.
They're like us. They want to start playing games too.
Yeah, right. True,
But
true.
realistically, I mean, what would be the earliest Nintendo would have announced something? Let's say, January 1st, 2025. Did they
Mhm.
think they were going to announce it in January and have it out, you know, in March, April? I mean, that's such a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, unless, because they just said it would be announced this fiscal year. So, I mean, technically, it could be tomorrow. Now, of course, it's not
Yeah.
going
Oh,
to be.
yeah, you know it
Yeah.
won't.
There was still some optimism that we would get an announcement September, November, sometime around there, and get the game quickly in
Mm.
2025. Maybe
Yeah.
not. So,
I don't think it's likely, but it's possible. I mean, I don't think I'll be seeing Switch 2s at, PAX, for example, in October. I don't think they'll be ready for that. I think they'll hold off. I think we've spoken about this in the past that they don't want to, jeopardize their the sort of holiday sales for the Switch. They've got a lot of games lined up. Yeah, I'd say they want to see this year through, this calendar year through with the holiday season before they get people excited about the Switch 2. So maybe 2025 will be the year of the Switch 2. I don't know. Makes sense.
But
I
then
mean,
we also put into Trevor's previous point that if they
mm,
wait and announce it in 2025, then historically it would not come out until 2026.
Oh man,
mm.
I forgot about that. Oh, I hope I'm wrong now.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows, right?
Uh, I might
They'd
have to
maybe.
revise that prediction.
I think they're going to do this one differently. I think it will be a fairly quick. They've been working on it for a while. I'm pretty sure. Well, I don't know.
Oh, you
How am I
know they
sure?
have.
I don't know. You
People have
think they
been
have?
trying to will it into existence for years.
Yeah. And yeah,
You
it's
know,
7.5 years since the Switch has been out now. So it'll be 8 by the time March rolls around next year. Sorry, Coke, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that even if they did announce it this year, if they were to announce it before the holiday rush, but then give a price drop to the Switch and announce that
Mm,
any Switch
mm,
game you buy is going to be compatible with the Switch
true.
2, then I think some people will, they would still be able to move some Switch units that way this
Yeah,
holiday season, even with a
that's
new
true.
system coming.
Yeah, and if the games are good enough, you still want to play them.
Yeah.
You're not going to hold out. If a game is available now and it's, holidays, you want to play the game. And if it's available, if you can bring it to the Switch too, yeah, there's no reason to wait, is there? Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point, I think. Trev, did you have something? Sorry, it sounded like you were about to say something.
Oh no, I was probably just
No?
breathing loud.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. I'm just conscious of making sure you guys get to say your piece and I don't talk over you. Yeah. Well,
Actually, Jim, I did just have a thought to
yeah.
your point. I do think maybe, and I don't know how big of a group it is, but I do think there is people who would hold off because I remember in the twilight years of the 3DS, it got some pretty big games. It got like Metroid 2, that remake, and some other big ones. But people were so into Switch at that point. They're like, oh, I'm done with 3DS. I can't
Mm.
play it anymore. Like, you know. So I don't think they're the majority per se, but I think there's maybe a vocal majority of like the hardcore Nintendo fans who, if they had confirmation that Switch 2 is coming out, they're going to be like, I'm all in for that. So maybe
Mm.
it would impact a little bit, at least with that core demographic.
Yeah. 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 I think that's a good point as well. Very interesting. Listeners, let us know what you think. Do you think this is likely to be a kind of post-April release, given that we will see an announcement before the end of March? And when do you think it might be announced? We'd love to know your thoughts. Any other comments on that or anything else before we close off for the week? No,
Yep. I think
no.
I'm
Okay,
good.
we got our pieces out. We got
Yep,
everything that we wanted to say.
Yeah. Unless you want to hear more Olivia Newton-John
Oh,
I do.
definitely.
texting "Would a little more love." I can dig into that one if you want. Go back a ways.
Oh, excellent. We could do a whole show on that, couldn't we? We might do an adjacent podcast on this. But no, thank you so much, both of you, Trev and Kirk, for joining me this week. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'd love to know your thoughts. Please do leave us a review on one of the podcasting platforms or leave us a comment and hit that thumbs up on YouTube. We are, what else do I need to say? We're on social media. So if you'd like to follow us for more, news and reviews, please jump onto our website, purenintendo.com, and we are on social media, Pure Nintendo on Twitter/X and Mastodon and Blue Sky. We're also imminently publishing our latest edition of the Pure Nintendo magazine. It's with the our esteemed leader. It's with Justin right now, so he's just tidying it up, and then it'll be off to the printers. So look forward to getting that into your hands. If you wanted to join, it's not too late. Head over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo. Kirk, are you in charge of mailing it this issue? We don't know yet.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
yeah. I
are.
think I'm on that again. Yep. So I'll let everyone know when they're in my hands and on their way to theirs.
Nice.
It's an
Excellent.
unpaid promotion, right?
You've got an intern in the basement, surely, doing that for you.
I think two of my interns are back to college, so
Oh, yeah.
I'll be a
Dang.
little short staffed. But
If he's in the basement, we ain't never going to find him.
Yeah,
we did have a
easily.
cat disappear down there for 3 to 4 days one time, so
Oh,
it's
really?
certainly possible.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
Well, thank you again. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for listening. And until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.
See ya.